emotion code. What is it? Who invented it? And does it actually work? Well, first of all, emotion code is a healing modality. And like all healing modalities, it depends on whether or not you are open enough to allow the healing to take place. So, when I first discovered emotion code, I was on a plane to Nashville, Tennessee with my husband, and he was actually listening to the book Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And I was listening to a true crime podcast, and he kept nudging me that I should read this book. Now, I am a spiritual mentor and life coach. And for those of you who are just new to my channel, please subscribe. My name is Paola Rosser, and I am the Fearless Female. I coach women to release self-doubt, anxiety, and fear in order to live the life they truly want to live. Now, even though I've been coaching for years, there are still some clients that hold on to a lot of trauma and pain. And even though we are processing it, some of this pain and trauma is stored in their cells. And I know this because this has also happened to me. I have been on my own healing journey trying to recover from a traumatic childhood, and I have tried every healing modality that is presented to me. I've done Reiki, I've done tuning forks, I've done weightless tanks, I've done hyperbaric chambers, acupuncture, and even somatic healing. Some I love and some absolutely didn't work for me and just caused me to have way more anxiety. Hashtag weightless tanks. Okay, so when I started reading this book, because my husband kept nudging me, like, you need to listen to this. This is like right up your alley. It's everything that you talk about. You should do this. And so when I started listening to the book, yes, I listen to Audible books. I love Audible. It's how I can download so much information while still doing life. So I'm listening to the book, and as soon as I decide to come back home, as soon as we come back home from Nashville, I decide to go on the internet and search for a practitioner near me. And I found Elsa Sophie, who is still my friend to this day and is our personal emotion code practitioner, because even though I am now a certified practitioner, I still keep her because I love someone doing it for me. So when I booked a session, I had no clue how it was going to go or what I was going to feel. I had no expectations, but I was open to the modality. And that's the key word when you are trying this new healing modality, is to be open and not try to, like, bring fear or doubt or anxiety into the session. And so when I finished my session, she had removed 15 negative trapped emotions. Now, for me, and someone who has always been on fight or flight, my heart has always been heavy with anxiety and fear and stress and panic. And so the moment she removed these 15 negative trapped emotions, it felt as though the weight of the world has now been released from my chest. And not only was that the best feeling, but also I wasn't triggered for at least 2 months. Like, I didn't fight with my husband about the tiniest little things because those negative trapped emotions in my psyche were no longer being triggered. All right. So how does it work? Okay, so we know that Dr. Bradley Nelson invented it, and he was a chiropractor that was making adjustments on his clients and then realizing that even though he was making these adjustments, they were still complaining about aches and pains all over their body. And so he started to do more research, and he went down the whole rabbit hole, and he discovered that magnets can actually help remove these negative trapped emotions in our body. Now, there's so much science behind trauma and how trauma is actually stored in our cells, in our DNA. It's why that book, The Body Keeps the Score, has been on the New York Times bestselling list for years, because it is very, very true that if you've experienced something traumatic, and it doesn't have to be like you grew up in an abusive home, but like, what if you got in a car accident? Or what if you witnessed a crime? Or what if you were a kid and you fell on the playground and all the kids made fun of you? These are traumatic events that have happened in your life, and your body has stored those negative trapped emotions simply because it's trying to protect you. So our subconscious mind, and I tell my clients this, is just picture it as a huge filing cabinet that has kept every single file of every experience you've ever had and the emotion connected to that experience. Now, unfortunately, most of us have a lot of experiences that carry negative emotions. And for some of us who have grown up in a traumatic environment, like myself, we have a lot more negative trapped emotions. Okay, so how does it work? And what would you expect from a session? So, first of all, I tell anyone who's going to book a session that you must drink a lot of water, because if you're dehydrated, I can't connect to your subconscious mind. So I tell everybody, make sure you are hydrated. Okay, so if you've been partying, having a couple cocktails the night before, I'm probably not going to be able to get the same information. So once you're in the session, and it's done via Zoom, you don't have to be present with me, although I would love for a client to sit in my office. But if you are from, a different state or a different time zone, we can easily connect via Zoom, and I can still connect into your subconscious mind. So how emotion code works is the practitioner asks permission of the client to connect to their subconscious mind. And once the client gives permission, then the practitioner says a prayer over the client to ask God, their spiritual guides, their ancestors, their highest self to help the practitioner locate these negative trapped emotions. Okay, so once I'm connected and I've said the prayer, then I start asking not the client, but the subconscious mind if the client has any negative trapped emotions. Now, Dr. Bradley Nelson has been doing this for years, and he has created a chart where, and I'll put it right here, he's created a chart where you can see and ask just simple questions, because the muscle testing works where you're just asking yes or no questions. So you're asking, does client have negative trapped emotions? And the answer is either yes or no. And then we go through the chart and we ask, is it in column A? Is it in column B? Is it odd? Is it even? And so we then try to pinpoint just by simply asking yes or no questions. I'm doing muscle testing this entire time. And I'm asking, is it in column A? Is it in column B? Is it odd? Is it even? And then I narrow it down to the specific negative trapped emotion. And then I ask 3 questions. Is it your own? Like, were you the one that had the experience and then therefore trapped that negative emotion? Or was it absorbed? Meaning, let's just say one of your friends went through a really bad breakup and you were there to console her. And so then you, in turn, then absorbed her negative trapped emotions. Or the last one is generational. So if you were, obviously we all have generations, and our parents who is our DNA is a mix of their DNA. So whatever their trauma or their negativity that happened in their life has been poured into their cells and now has been mixed up and made into you. And so you might have carried some of their negative trapped emotions. So have you ever been around a child who was with a mom who had, when she was pregnant, she was going through her own trauma or toxic environment, and then when that baby came out, that baby, you can tell the difference between a baby who had a beautiful 9-month experience in there and a baby who was like, didn't know what was going on in the outside world. It's 2 different babies, and it's honestly like, if that can happen, then you can see that your negative trapped emotions can come from either your mom or your dad, or your grandma and grandpa, your great grandma and grandpa, on either side. So once I figure out whether or not it's yours or it's absorbed or it comes from a generation, either your mom's or your father's side, your paternal or your maternal side, then I ask, when was this trapped, before or after a certain age? Now, if it's generational, then obviously I wouldn't be able to pinpoint at what age, because it could have been when you were in the womb, it could have been when you were it could have been in a different time. So the only time I can actually pinpoint is whether or not it was yours or absorbed. And so once I figure out like whether or not it was yours, then I ask, so first of all, I'm supposed to ask the client like how old they are. So let's say they were 40 and their middle age is 20. So then I'll ask, did this happen happened before or after your age of 20? And then I'll just keep asking the question, yes or no, until I get down to the age. So let's give an example. I had a client who, at the time, the negative trapped emotion was hers, and it was trapped at the age of 15, and the emotion was humiliation. Now, when I was doing my training, I was asking Elsa a lot of questions, like, because obviously she's been doing it for years. I was asking her questions, and one of the things that she told me was, if I feel anything in my body while I'm doing a session, that I should say it out loud, because most of the time it'll help the client remember why they trapped it. Remember the experience and why they trapped that negative emotion. So let's rewind. Remember earlier in the video when I said, think of your subconscious mind as a filing cabinet, and every file has a record of your experience at a certain age, and it also has a record of the emotion attached to that experience. But most of our experiences are probably negative, and very few positive. And so imagine that when I'm figured out that A, it's your own negative emotion, B, that you've trapped it at the age of 17, and C, that it's the negative emotion of humiliation. And then I'll muscle test to ask whether or not you want to tell me more. Now, if you're a very closed off and guarded person, then most likely you'll say no. You don't want to tell me because you don't want to share that experience. I come across a lot of people who are very open, because I'm a very open book. So I come across a lot of people who are very open. So they tell me what actually comes up. So imagine the file being pulled from your subconscious mind up to your conscious mind. And so when I ask the question, what comes up for you? What's the first thing that comes to your head? In this example where it was 17 or 15 humiliation, and it was her own, she said, I remember when I was on the swim team, and at that moment she just kind of paused, and I was feeling weird sensations on my legs. And I said, I'm feeling like tingling sensations on my legs. And she's like, yeah, because I used to have fat legs, and when I would take off my towel to do our swim exercises, all the girls would make fun of me and my fat legs and call me names. And so that experience allowed her subconscious to store the negative trapped emotion of humiliation. Now, the whole purpose of your subconscious mind is to not only keep record of everything that happened to you and keep record of all the emotions you've experienced in your lifetime, but it's also trying to protect you. So the reason it has trapped this negative emotion in all of your cellular body is because it is trying to protect you. So it's trying to think like, oh, if this happens again, I'll remember this feeling and I will be able to defend myself better. Right? And so I've had multiple sessions with so many people where they're completely mind blown at how accurate the muscle testing is, and age, like clarifying what age and what memory, and what negative emotion was trapped at that moment. And they immediately remember something that happened to them at that age. And sometimes they're surprised that the file of that memory is now in their conscious mind, because they think, I haven't even thought of this in a long time. And yeah, now I can see why I trapped that emotion. So that is emotion code. It is the most amazing healing modality. Afterwards, people feel so light. And I tell my clients that you will either process all of these emotions at once, meaning, and for me, when I first had my emotion code session with Elsa and she removed 15 negative emotions, I found myself in front of the television bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, why am I feeling like I'm so completely out of alignment? It was because I was processing all of those feelings. So I tell my clients, just think of yourself as a sponge, and I'm just squeezing you, and all of those negative emotions are coming to the surface. So when you're feeling those feelings, I tell them, just release them, because you no longer need them. And you thank your subconscious for protecting you, and you just release it and let yourself feel the feelings and let them go. Other people take really, really long naps because they're just kind of like exhausted. They want it all released, and so their body can't even think about going through all those emotions. They just want to take a really long nap. So that kind of happens to my husband. And that's so awesome to be able to have that versus what I was going through, which is like bawling my eyes out. So it really all depends. Now, there are moments where, you know, I will pull a memory, or I will say you trap the negative emotion of unworthiness at the age of 5, and maybe they don't know. What do you mean age of 5? I can't remember what happened to me at the age of 5, right? So after the session is over, most clients process this whole experience between 24 and 72 hours. And so I tell all my clients that during that time, the memory might pop up. The file cabinet might be pulled and pulled into your conscious mind. So, for example, I had a memory of disgust for a man, or she cleared the negative emotion of disgust for a man at the age of 7. And I was like, I don't remember 7. I can't remember 7. I can't even remember like 10 or 11. I have a lot of blocked memories. But it wasn't until I, like, within that 72-hour window, I was washing the dishes, and then I remembered like it was yesterday. I was at the hospital. I had viral meningitis. The doctor was an asshole to me, and I was disgusted by his behavior. And yeah, it all came back to me. But I was allowed to process those negative emotions. I was allowed to let them go and release them, and continue on my healing journey. And sometimes, you know, this healing modality can be in addition to your therapy, to anything that you're already working on. If you're already on your healing journey and you're trying to like figure things out, and you're wondering like, why do I keep getting stuck this? Why does this person keep triggering me? Why does this emotion keep coming up of anxiety or panic or unworthiness, or feeling like I'm being taken for granted? Then this is the time that maybe you should try out emotion code. Like I tell people all the time, if therapy isn't working anymore for you, start the process of looking for new healing modalities. Like I said earlier in the video, I have tried everything, and you know, there are some that I love and I keep going back to. I mean, I loved emotion code so much that I decided to become a practitioner. I've tried Reiki, I never went back. I've tried weightless tanks, I never went back. I tried hyperbaric chambers, I never went back. I love tuning forks. I think I would love to do that again. I love sound baths. I love, what's the other thing that I really, really love doing? I love meditating. I love all these amazing healing modalities, but you have to test them out to see if they work for you. Like, you are never going to know what actually works for you. Like, I know my husband tried EMDR therapy. He didn't like it, but he loves emotion code. So it all depends on who you are and what you are open to. So if you're open to trying out emotion code, make sure you go into the notes and click on the link. I don't know when you're watching this video, but it's June 15th, 2023. And if you are still in the month of June of 2023, then I'm running a special for 30 minutes, $30, 30 for 30. You get a 30-minute session for $30, which is a steal. I mean, I pay almost $180 per session, or charge $180 per session on a normal basis. So right now I am doing a 30 for 30 special because I want people to try it out. I want them to try it out without that burden of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay $180, and what if it doesn't work? Well, for 30 bucks, you can test it out and see if it works, and see if it's something that you like. Now, if you have never started your healing journey and you have just experienced an existential crisis and you feel like you don't know what to do, you're stuck in the darkness, you've been depressed, and you want to start your healing process, like you're actually asking those questions, the existential questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What's the point of all of this? Then I am a spiritual mentor and life coach, and you are the type of client that I love working with. I love working with the clients who are in the beginning of their self-discovery and healing journey. And if you're interested in talking more about how I can be your mentor, make sure you click on the links below to set up a call. And All right, that's it. I was trying to make this be 10 minutes, but apparently I can talk about this. See, this is a topic I could talk about for more than 30 minutes without being prepared. So thank you for watching me on YouTube. Thank you for being a part of this channel. And if you're not, make sure you hit subscribe. If you love this, make sure you share it and tell a friend. And if you're interested in emotion codes, book today because you're going to get that special of 30 minutes for $30, and I hope to see you on the other side.